Knowledge can be a very dangerous thing, especially in the hands of an intelligence beyond one's own. So, how powerful and how dangerous can knowledge truly be? Well, let's find out, shall we? Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And today's Doctor Who review is none other than the Krotons. So, what are the Krotons? Well, they're like this kind of cross between crystalline life form with a robotic and AI sort of artificial intelligence. And essentially, they've taken over this colony. This colony has this whole system driven into the core of it since its very beginning. And essentially, all of the people in the colony have been brainwashed into believing that the smartest must go to the Krotons and the dumbest must stay and pretty much provide for their families. Each year, every individual takes a test and must find out whether they are worthy of the Krotons test. Smartest individuals are promised a life of luxury and absolute, just paradise. But little do their friends know that instead of going off to this magical world where everything's going to be okay, instead their friends have been vaporized. The Doctor, Zoe and Jamie all turn up to the horror of what's happened, and it turns out that one of the people who was almost vaporized manages to survive. When he goes back to his tribe, he is pretty much ashamed and tormented for being a survivor. Especially after all the tradition of everything that's happened, the Doctor and Zoe and Jamie must try and help this colony understand that what's going on is wrong. And so they begin to investigate, and that is when the Doctor comes upon the Krotons. At first, the Doctor and his friends don't fully see the full evil side of the Krotons and are more fascinated by their technology and their ability to do maths and sums and equations. But soon their malevolent presence becomes known when Zoe ends up cracking the code and is almost sent to her death. The Doctor fears for Zoe and Jamie and everyone else in the colony as he tries to come up with a solution to finally shut down the Krotons. Of course, the Krotons, being anything like any other computer-generated intelligence, can also be broken. Apologies for my cough there. Just got a bit of a tickly thing. But back to it. So essentially, the Krotons, being like any other artificial intelligence, pretty much gets outthought and outused by its own technology, and the Doctor manages to finally shut down the program. So let's get into my overall thoughts on the Krotons. I love this story. Why? Because the Krotons, similar to the Quarks, are such a unique and different concept. They're not like any other monster we have currently in the show in other iterations, and they're honestly, personally, characters that I know it might be a little bit of a struggle to write, but I would be really fascinated to see them come back in the future in some shape, way, or form. Even if that shape, way, or form isn't their original design, if there's just some subtle hints to their original design and original stories, I feel like it would solidly give a new open barrier to this idea of what artificial intelligence can do. I also just absolutely love that this has come full circle from the Will in Space to the Krotons, with Zoe finally kind of seeing the tragedy, yet also the irony of her own intelligence. The fact that she always plays on logic, but then suddenly when logic lets her down, it definitely starts to weigh on her. We do see this in the Will in Space, but I feel like it's more strong here, especially after she realizes that she's being manipulated by a machine based on her own knowledge. It's also interesting to see the Doctor's reaction to this, as he is also kind of blinded a little bit in this episode by his own ambitions for figuring out what the Krotons are. Also, the disappointment that the Doctor doesn't manage to get as high a score as Zoe is absolutely gobsmackingly hilarious, because it's as if the Doctor wanted to be controlled by the Krotons, in a way. And, I mean, at least it shows that he was on a very similar path to Zoe. However, maybe his creativity and ambition for more knowledge is why he kind of sways off the path a little bit. But now let's get into the scoring cards for this episode. The Krotons, Doctor Who. Solid story, solid plot. Honestly, solid story all around. As I said before, love the fact of Zoe's story arc in this, and especially how it comes to the forefront of the story. And for that reason, I give it a solid 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, and have an incredible day.